He's a wrestling legend and a pop culture phenomenon.
My hero, your hero, everybody's hero.
Hulk Hogan was the perfect specimen. Big, tall, blonde, tan, built.
I fear no man.
Hulk Hogan became the most recognizable face in the world.
But it all comes at a huge price.
I was completely broken and destroyed.
He wrestled with secret addictions.
He did a lot of Percocet, Oxycontin.
The FBI's banging on people's door.
Family tragedy.
Hogan's lucky to be alive.
A scandalous sex tape.
Whenever your dick is plastered on the internet, it's gonna be a bit jarring.
And personal demons.
Hulk sat there with a bottle of rum, a jar full of Xanax, and a gun.
He was suicidal.
But every time Hulk Hogan was down on the mat, he gets back up stronger than ever.
Hulk wanted the title of his book to be Resurrection, because coming back from the dead has been something he's done again and again in his life.
Hogan is in the building.
In the 1980s and early 90s, Hulk Hogan is the king of the world.
His iconic move of ripping the shirt off.
He hit the ears.
Hulk's brand transcends generations and genres. It's called Hulkamania.
I've known Hulk Hogan for almost 50 years. My name is Brian Blair, formerly one half of the Killer Bees for the WWF. The first time I met Hulk Hogan was at the wrestling matches in the Armory when I was 17 years old. Tampa didn't have the Lightning. They didn't have the Rowdies. They didn't have the Buccaneers. Back then, the big deal was University of Tampa football on Saturday nights and professional wrestling on Tuesday nights at the Armory.
My older sister would take me. I'd be sitting up in the balcony, and he'd be down at ringside, razzing all the wrestlers as they were coming back and forth to the ring. I'm Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I'd go back to 1974 with Terry Bollea, a.k.a. Hulk Hogan. Tampa was a home of Florida Championship Wrestling. It was a hub for the whole state. Unbeknownst to me, he was trying to get in.
He really studied the business. He liked to emulate people. He would get in the mirror and emulate like superstar Billy Graham or Dusty Rhodes.
I'm gonna get meaner and better.
I think Terry had a clear vision that he wanted to be a superstar in the wrestling industry. And when he found the Hulk Hogan gimmick, it fit him to a T.
He is the Hulk.
But he's not born Hulk Hogan. The 6'7", 300-pound machine comes into this world as Terry Bollea in 1953. The youngest of two boys, he has a modest upbringing in a two-bedroom home in Tampa, Florida.
They had to sort of sleep out at angles on the floor in order just to fit in the bedroom.
Terry's Hulk-like physique comes at an early age.
He was pushing 200 pounds by the time he was like 12.
He's a phenomenal athlete, crushing his local Little League home run record.
His head was so big that it didn't fit into a regulation Little League helmet.
He's an awkward kid, but in his teens, Terry grows into his size and discovers his artistic side as a bass player of a flamboyant rock band.
I started sneaking in a bar called The Other Place. There was a group called Ruckus. Terry was the bass player with platforms on. He was like 7 feet tall, suntan, blonde hair, muscles, his mother's jewelry.
Terry is a sight to behold. And it just so happens this bar is a hotspot for local wrestlers. They notice Terry's charisma instantly and convince him to get in the ring. Something
Hulk didn't realize is that there was a lot of hazing. There was a lot of, like, we don't really want you here.
When you're Terry Bollea, wrestling isn't easy.
Hulk Hogan wasn't welcome in a lot of wrestling circuits. Looking back on it now, you have to wonder if it's because he was so naturally talented. And I think a lot of other wrestlers didn't necessarily want him there. My name is Mark D'Agostino. I co-wrote Hulk Hogan's autobiography, My Life Outside the Ring. He actually quit wrestling entirely a couple of times.
But Terry gives it one more shot, and this time brings his buddy along for moral support.
Both of us had long blonde hair. I had a blonde mustache, and we were wrestling together as the Boulder brothers, Terry and Eddie Boulder.
Then everything changes when he adopts a new name and a larger-than-life persona.
For Terry, they begin saying, well, geez, he looks like The Hulk, Lou Ferrigno. Yeah, geez, why don't we call him Terry the Hulk Boulder?
I'm gonna take you and bury your head right in the map, brother.
Hulk is a natural, wowing crowds with his massive biceps and signature moves before finally landing at Vince McMahon's WWF.
Here comes Hulk Hogan with the blonde hair snapping it back.
He was American-made. Got a great gimmick going there, did tremendous, got a great following, learned a lot about on the microphone and how to sell himself.
Hulk Hogan was the most energetic guy. You know, all the flexing. It's what made Hulk Hogan who he was. My name is Kurt Angle, and I wrestled for 20 years in the WWE and in TNA. And I've known Hulk Hogan for 22 years. It's amazing. I'm going to tell you right now, he is in a class by himself.
Everything that had been building for all these years finally came together in the ring. Vince McMahon put him in the ring with the WWF champion, the Iron Sheik. What does Hulk do? He wins the belt.
We have a new champion!
And Hulkamania is born.
What are you going to do when Hulk Hogan runs wild on you, brother?
What you gonna do?
What you gonna do, brother?
He started tearing his shirt off, you know, and then posing for the people. Ate it up like candy. They loved it.
I was a Hulkamaniac. Everybody was. And if you weren't, you're lying.
And the Hulkamania excitement spreads to Hollywood. Hulk's meteoric rise in the WWF catches the eye of a big-name actor.
Sylvester Stallone was preparing to shoot his third Rocky movie. He needed a wrestler character for one of the big scenes in the film. And he saw Hulk Hogan on TV. He said, I have to have him.
Stallone calls him up. Hey, I want you to do Rocky 3.
It's chance of a lifetime. A major walk-on role in Rocky 3.
God. Rocky, that's what put him on the map. He was this monster big wrestler. I'll rip out your neck and shit down the hall. He just catapulted in wrestling.
Would you welcome Hulk Hogan?
By the mid-'80s, Hulk Hogan is wrestling's biggest star. On March 29, 1987, Hulk's celebrity will catapult to levels never seen before in pro wrestling history. Millions look on when he gets in the ring with a giant.
Look at the stare of the champion against the challenger.
Only other person I would say that was even as impactful as Hulk Hogan was Andre the Giant, but for the opposite reason in that he said less, he did less. Roy Wood Jr., comedian, Hulk Hogan fan from 1985 to whenever he said Andre the Giant, don't talk. I just come in the ring and I beat your ass.
He came up to Andre the Giant's chest.
The irresistible force meeting the immovable object.
It's hard to imagine how big this guy is. Before WrestleMania 3, Andre the Giant had also been putting on a lot of weight. He was, according to Hulk, pushing 700 pounds.
He had one meal a day, and after that, he drank. Believe me, he had pounded some Cavassier that night. He just didn't seem like he was in a good mood. He just seemed like that nasty giant, and I was just kind of afraid for Terry.
Anytime you're getting in the ring with somebody who's 7'4" and weighs 650 pounds, he was big time nervous.
But then Hulk on TV, he lifts this hulking giant of a man, again pushing 700 pounds, and body slams him.
Boy, when he picked up the giant, it was one of the most incredible feats I have ever seen in my life. Slams the giant, and I mean, there was pandemonium.
The ground shook. I mean, you were just vibrating like never felt anything like it before or since.
It's the slam heard around the world, and it sends Hulkamania into overdrive.
It was one of those moments that ripples well outside of the wrestling fandom and becomes this sort of cultural moment for wrestling and for Hulkamania.
Hulk Hogan is now not just a famous wrestler, he's a certified megastar.
Hulk Hogan would do a promo and have me ready to order SummerSlam on my mama's cable package. How many kids do you think just snuck and ordered wrestling for $90 and then just got an ass whooping 2 months later when the bill came to the house?
His image was on t-shirts, on lunchboxes. It was everywhere.
Like, Hulk Hogan was just America.
Fans are going wild and Hulk is eating it up, but he's also grinding through serious pain.
When he lifted the giant, he tore his whole lat right off the bone.
What people don't know is that he tore the muscles in his back when he did that. Muscle tears would haunt him for the rest of his life.
Backstage, he looked like an 80-year-old man walking around. He was in pain all the time, excruciating pain.
While the outcomes in pro wrestling matches might be predetermined, anything can happen in the ring.
The physicality of wrestling has never been fake.
The injuries he sustains against the Giant are nothing compared to what happens at the 1991 Survivor Series. Hulk faces off against one of wrestling's most intimidating characters, known for his skull-crushing moves.
The Undertaker had this move, the Tombstone. It's executed very carefully so that you end up landing back here without actually breaking someone's neck or breaking their skull. For whatever reason, Hulk was really sweaty that night. The Undertaker was off by an inch, and when Hulk went down, he really smashed his skull and his neck.
Possibility here that the Hulkster could have a broken neck.
No, I couldn't put a thought together. I just thought I'd killed him.
And guys put oil on their bodies and you're all sweaty and you're trying to pick a guy up and hold him that weighs over 300 pounds and maybe he just slips a tiny bit out of position. That tiny bit is enough, could translate into maiming someone permanently.
He wound up in the hospital for 2 straight days after that, and he has been suffering ramifications ever since.
As far as the world knows, Hulk Hogan is unstoppable. But behind the scenes, he's going down a dangerous path, doing whatever it takes to show up in the ring.
Pro wrestling, you gotta find something that's gonna make you feel better. He told me that he had a painkiller problem, and we kind of talked to each other about it because we both went through the same thing.
It would be hard-pressed to find someone who wasn't medicating. If you wanted to try to get out of bed and go to the gym and make it to the show, and it's the only way you could do it.
Brutus comes out with Hogan, and I love this. Brutus has 2 fanny packs on. This is what a good friend Brutus was. Not only did Brutus have his fanny pack, he had Hogan's drugs that he kept on his side.
My name is Missy Beefcake, and my husband is Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
So he did a lot of Percocet and Oxycontin. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say because I don't want to get myself in trouble.
Hulk had become a megastar, and now he was making mega money. Millions and millions of dollars every year.
While Hulk Hogan is managing his crippling injuries, he becomes more famous than ever and starts partying like he's the king of the world.
Hulk showed me a check that was for $1 million. That was his pay for WrestleMania. That's nice. Where are we going? How can we spend some of this? And it was definitely sex, drugs, rock and roll all the way. We were rock stars in the 80s.
We could have anything we wanted. You had women lined up. If you wanted to do drugs, alcohol, whatever you wanted, it was at your fingertips.
He found himself partying hard. The excess of the 80s playing out through one of the larger-than-life characters.
In the 80s, professional wrestlers are all the rage. Their fame eclipses even the biggest Hollywood celebrities, and Hulk Hogan revels in his big moment.
Hulk had suites on the penthouses, giant rooms all connected, and tons of beer and everything, and everybody would come, to Terry's room, and we'd all just party half the night and sleep a couple hours, get on an airplane, go to the next town, and then do it again that night.
These guys are out running wild. Lots of beautiful ladies running around, lots of sex, lots of drugs.
When these guys were partying at the height of wrestling, there wasn't a camera in everyone's pocket, so I feel like you were able to get away with a lot more because it just became this word-of-mouth legend of these insane stories.
It's the 80s. Cocaine in the 80s was like weed. Like, everybody did it. This is what they did. They worked hard. They played hard.
In the ring, Hulk is the champ. Behind the scenes, he's living large and meets the love of his life.
Terry met Linda in San Fernando Valley. She was, really beautiful, blonde hair and all the bells and whistles. His eyeballs were bulging out of his head. Basically, he went head over heels for her. The next thing you know, bang, they were getting married.
But marriage doesn't slow Hulk down.
He found himself staying up till 3, 4 in the morning, partying with all the other wrestlers and his wife, Linda, doing whatever kind of drugs came around.
There's a degree of level of do good and be a good boy and hey, eat your vitamins and all of that. Pardon me.
Everybody
Everybody was snorting and drinking and sex partying. I would be more weirded out if I found out Hulk Hogan went and prayed after matches. I'd be like, what's his vice?
Booze and cocaine are one thing, but it's Hulk's third drug of choice that threatens to end his career for good.
Did the biggest star in pro wrestling get to the top by using dangerous drugs?
Hulk would tell us all the time, train, say your prayers, and eat your vitamins. I'm Perez Hilton, the original influencer, celebrity blogger, podcaster, and pop culture expert. What he didn't say was also, take your steroids.
Most of us think of professional wrestling as harmless entertainment and Hulk Hogan as the king of the ring. But was there a sinister side to his success?
Train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, be true to yourself, true to your country, be a real American.
I think he wants to squeaky clean, look, no, I just ate my vegetables and I lifted weights and I just, I wrestled and that's all I did, when that's not the truth. My name is Greg Valentino and I am a steroid expert, one of the biggest steroid dealers ever in the 1990s. From bodybuilding to professional wrestlers. In the 1990s, we were all using it.
Look at Hulk Hogan. It put a pin in him and he would... That wasn't natural. But, a man has to do what a man has to do in any business. My husband did steroids and admits it.
In the spring of 1994, the widespread use of steroids in wrestling becomes a national scandal, and the media's attention all turns to wrestling's most famous face.
FBI's banging on people's door. The FBI, it was no joke. It's on the news.
It hit wrestling really hard, where people started, pointing the fingers.
Pro wrestling is reeling. Wave after wave of scandalous charges threaten its hard-won family image.
Your name came up recently when a doctor got himself into trouble. You want to discuss it?
The last thing that he ever wanted to do was, because of all the little Hulkamaniacs, was to let the kids know that he had done something that might not look good in the eye of the beholder and influence a child in the wrong way.
The idea that he was on steroids but denied taking steroids, to me, that's all part of the persona. Hulk Hogan didn't take steroids. Terry took steroids.
And Hulk could never learn how to separate himself. Didn't want to. He just wanted to be Hulk Hogan. All the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't know, caught up with him.
I'm not a steroid abuser, and I do not use steroids.
I was vocal about him going on the Arsenio Hall show and denying steroid use. I didn't think that was a good move. Looking back, I'm sure he knows that was the wrong thing to do.
I think he's a liar. I think he was doing what he was trained to do, to be a performer, and to deny.
If you do messed up shit, own it. Say, you know what? I messed up and I did this. But, they think, well, little kids are watching. Well, maybe if you told little kids, hey, listen, I did these things and I wasn't so good when I did them. It comes out. Everybody knows that Hulk Hogan was involved in a lot of scandals, and yet he never takes responsibility for any of them.
The showman part of this is that, oh no, this is all natural. This is baby oil. I'm just glistening. So you can't cop to that.
I took steroids. Hulk took steroids. Vince took steroids. Everybody took steroids.
Yeah. Ouch, my shoulder hurts. I'm gonna take a shot to make it feel better faster. So I can go out here and lift Andre the Giant over my head for you. So yeah, I took steroids.
They get beat up, they get thrown around, they get bashed. You know what I mean? And you need steroids to actually help recuperate.
Unfortunately, some of the wrestlers go to drugs. I did eventually. I ended up with a painkiller problem. And I know Hulk Hogan had one too. I know that he was doing cocaine. I know he abused steroids. But he was doing what he had to do to get the job done.
Hulk's hero image is in shambles, and now he's a target for the feds.
The FBI was investigating. They came walking out onto the dock at his house down here in Florida where we lived one day, looking for him to question him. They actually had me go in front of a grand jury. They hoped that I might flip on Hulk, and then that might cause him to flip on Vince.
The U.S. Justice Department charges WWF President Vince McMahon for supplying his wrestlers with illegal steroids, and their star witness, the Hulkster.
A lot of people looked at Hulk Hogan when he came out and he started attacking, McMahon and all this stuff. It was almost like he was like kind of biting the hand that fed him, so to speak.
I went and, testified in front of the grand jury. It was a bit nerve-wracking, to say the least. I kept everybody out of trouble without lying to a grand jury, but in such a way that kept us in the clear.
Hulk might have skipped out on jail time, but his punishment is potentially worse.
Everybody was nervous, let me tell you that. Everybody.
To legions of fans, Hulkamania is a lie, and Hulk can't play the hero. His whole persona is dead, and that means his career is too.
His partnership with Vince McMahon is broken, was out of wrestling, maybe even for good.
Terry was told that, he couldn't come back to wrestling.
After a steroid scandal rips through pro wrestling, Hulk Hogan's no longer king of the ring, so he leaves it all behind and heads for Hollywood.
At the time, he just needed a break. Decided to hang up the boots and, see what the acting world might bring to him.
Hulk isn't a stranger to showbiz. He's had a taste of TV before.
Hulk had met the guys who did the Baywatch show, and they wanted to do a TV series.
A hit TV show provides an opportunity for him to resurrect his heroic image.
Hulk Hogan is Hurricane Spencer. Thunder in Paradise.
I was free to pursue other things. We filmed 22 episodes of a TV show called Thunder in Paradise right over at Disney. Everybody, had a fantastic time.
But Hogan's Hollywood sojourn is cut short when billionaire media mogul Ted Turner comes calling.
WCW was trying to get their stock up, and if they could land Hulk Hogan, they would be on the way to greatness.
Hey Hulk, we want you to come back and be part of wrestling. I said, no way.
At first, Hulk said no to the WCW, but then they came back with an offer he basically couldn't refuse. They cut him in on a piece of the revenues, including the pay-per-view revenues. He was going to get a bigger percentage of every t-shirt they sold. He was going to have more creative control. It basically gave him everything that he never had with the WWF.
It's the most lucrative deal in wrestling history and puts Hulk back on top. Then, in 2005, Hulk tries to present his household as a lovable family unit on a reality show called Hogan Knows Best.
Hulk Hogan is so iconic that Terry's family also call themselves Hogan. You have regular names, and they're like, nah, I want people to know I'm affiliated with Hulk Hogan.
As his reality show started to take off, it became more clear that he was more than just the wrestler. He was this sort of just pop culture icon that can transfer to different kind of mediums like that.
Hogan Knows Best was so big that it turned not just Hulk into this more traditional celebrity, but it turned his family into celebrities as well. And his daughter, Brooke, became a pop star. There's this expression, the reality TV curse. I think Hogan Knows Best, while it was wildly successful, it also had negative repercussions for his whole family.
Would you be happier divorced?
We all know that reality TV is fake. And while filming Hogan Knows Best, Hulk's relationship with his wife Linda was so bad, and their fights so toxic, that a lot of them, even though they were filmed, didn't make it on the show. Producers thought they were too real.
She was a bit of a tyrant behind the cameras. bit of a tyrant behind the scenes. She was drinking heavily, and she would fall into these screaming matches. Thankfully, most of that didn't end up on air.
In case you can't tell, I've had it.
I've witnessed, so many meltdowns. Linda always had a problem. She used to bring up and insinuate stuff about me and Hulk. You guys, I've never heard you guys argue one time in 10 years or something. You've never had an argument. They never stopped fighting, them two. It was a very turbulent relationship. It was tough. A lot of alcohol involved. Linda was early afternoon drinker, and by 4 or 5 o'clock, the gloves would come off and it would just turn nasty.
Finally, in 2007, Hulk and Linda's strained relationship makes it impossible to continue filming. Hogan Knows Best is canceled. Hulk quickly pivots to a new gig as co-host of a reboot of the popular American Gladiator series. He's about to go on stage when he's blindsided by Linda.
She laid divorce papers on him the day he started filming American Gladiator. He was standing there about to start. Literally, there's an arena full of people chanting his name before the show starts. And he gets a call from his attorney saying that Linda had just served him papers.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hulk Hogan!
Welcome to the new American Gladiator!
Terry and Linda were having some problems, and then they split up. It got really, really nasty, and he said to me, he said, it does you no good to charm a snake once it's bitten you. Linda bit him hard.
Divorce really took a toll on him, not just emotionally, but also financially. Linda walked away from that marriage with almost all of Hulk's money, and it left him for a while like a shell of himself.
It's just really sad to know that all those years he spent in the ring, all that hard work was almost for nothing. He was the biggest draw in the history of the business. And it's just really sad that Hulk Hogan had to start all over again.
But before he can even reboot his life, Hulk is hit with another devastating sucker punch.
Nick Hogan crashed head-on into a palm tree. Hogan's friend, John Graziano, a decorated Iraq war vet, suffered severe brain damage.
Hulk's son, Nick, got into a terrible car accident. The passenger in the car, John Graziano, was severely injured and crippled from the accident.
It cost the family dearly, when he got in the wreck, and poor guy, became paraplegic.
After that, the press just went nuts on the family, on his son. In the middle of all of this, the prosecutor's office in Pinellas County decided to press charges against Nick.
If you have the Hogan name, you have the power to protect yourself with a little bit of celebrity, then why not? What good is celebrity if you ain't gonna use the shit? Yes, Your Honor, I almost killed my friend, but as you can recall, my father beat Andre the Giant at WrestleMania.
But the judge said, because of who you are, meaning Nick, being the son of Hulk Hogan, being someone who's on TV, the judge decided to make an example of him. Nick was 17, had basically no record. He sentenced him to 8 months in prison.
I flew down to be here with him. He was really distraught, in a really bad place. Nick's life could change forever, getting thrown in jail. Terry was really, really, really upset and broken up about it.
It really took a toll on Terry. It hurt him so bad. He blamed himself. It was a tough, difficult time.
Hulk was so distraught with his son being sent to prison that he was suicidal.
He was just spiraling. He was alone in the house. He had been drinking. He was just lost. He felt like everything in his life was falling apart. And he sat there with a bottle of rum, a jar full of Xanax, and a gun. At one point, he had the gun in his mouth. He remembers the taste of the metal. It only takes 3 pounds of pressure to pull the trigger on this particular weapon. Like 3 pounds for Hulk Hogan is nothing. It'd be like flicking off a light switch.
Hulk Hogan has hit rock bottom. His marriage is over, his son is in jail, and he's thinking of ending it all.
Hulk, at that point, was alone in the house. He didn't see a way out and thinking, this is it, this is it, this is it. And then he got a phone call. He picked it up. And of all people, it was Layla Ali. That's Muhammad Ali's daughter, who he was co-hosting American Gladiator with. And Layla, he had just barely gotten to know. She saw something when he left the set a couple days before that, and she was concerned about him. She called him just to check in, just to see how he was doing. For some reason, broke through the cloud of pain that he was in and kind of snapped him out of it.
You know, you never know how you're going to affect other people. But again, like I said, that was just divine intervention.
God touched his heart and opened his eyes to the fact that he has 2 beautiful children and that so many people love and admire him.
Seeing a man so broken down that he was ready to take his own life, and how he was coming back, how he was finding the strength to rise up again.
He just had to realize that, you know, sunshine's better than darkness, and he chose sunshine.
Just like in the ring, Hulk Hogan won't be pinned down. American Gladiators is a ratings hit, and the Hulkster finds his swagger and has a new tag team partner by his side.
He really is in love with you, isn't he?
He's one of the greatest people.
Hulk had a friend named Bubba the Love Sponge, who was a very good friend and saw that Hulk was kind of down in the dumps after his divorce.
I know Bubba well. You know, Bubba's got some great qualities, a lot of charisma. He's very witty. And so him and Terry became friends.
Hulk Hogan and radio shock jock Bubba the Love Sponge are inseparable.
I was on Bubba the Love Sponge, his show, all the time. I was on every week. I was one of his regulars, along with Hulk Hogan. But I knew they were best friends. You know, Bubba the Love Sponge bragged about it all the time.
He talked about him like just the greatest buddy a guy could have, like a real guy's guy buddy. He trusted the guy with his life. They had had some crazy antics together that he would take to the grave.
Unfortunately, for Hulk Hogan's sake, he got thrown to the wolves.
You know, I didn't like Bubba. Thought he was evil. Talking about being with Bubba's wife ahead of time. I tried desperately to warn him off. Don't even think about doing some stunt like that. I said, you're going to regret it. It's going to be bad. No good can come from it. Just walk away.
It just was one of those moments I said, hell with it.
I'm going to go for it.
And it was, you know, it was a huge, horrible decision.
Hulk decides to have sex with his best friend's wife, Heather Clem.
Bubba had his sin den, this place he had set up with hookers and dope and coke, and everything was there, and having, you know, people in and out of their cameras everywhere. And Hulk fell right into the trap. Next thing you know, they got him on tape with Bubba's wife.
I remember saying to Terry, like, you're Hulk Hogan. Like, you could have gone into a 7-Eleven and said, I need to get laid, brother. And there probably would have been 10 girls that were like, me. Like, why? Somebody's wife.
Bobby, you're not filming this, are you? And he just slashed into me. What the hell's wrong with you? I'm your effing best friend. How dare you say that to me?
Hulk had a sex tape that he claims was filmed without his knowledge, although it seems like he might have known, but regardless of that, it came into the possession of a news outlet called Gawker. And they chose to not only write about its existence, but to actually publish a 2-minute excerpt of it.
The news of what Bubba had done just crushed me. All I did was feel for Terry, the man. You know, not Hulk Hogan, but Terry Bollea, the man, had been betrayed by one of his best friends.
I Googled to see that sex tape. It's a sex tape. You gotta, how could you not watch? You have, come on. It's the Hulkster.
Terry was livid. Could not believe that not only that happened, but his friend Bubba betrayed him like that.
It's really sad, the to see somebody do that to him, ruin his life that way.
Betrayed and humiliated, Hulk gears up for the fight of his life. He launches a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Gawker for violating his privacy.
I think regardless of how Hulk handled the tape being out there, he probably would have preferred that if that got out, he was 30 or maybe even 40. But regardless, whenever your dick is plastered on the internet, it's gonna be a bit jarring.
I think Bubba wanted to make a pretty penny, and he knew that this tape would do that for him. His intention was to ruin Hulk Hogan.
But believe it or not, a sex tape scandal isn't the worst thing to happen to Hulk's reputation.
Toughest workout I've ever had.
And it's not over yet.
Out of everything that I've been through, this one hit me probably the hardest, and that's a heck of a thing to say, because I've been through a lot of crazy stuff.
Hulk Hogan terminated by WWE for racial slurs caught on tape.
You know, black people, we picky about the white people we emotionally invest in. You know, when you emotionally invest in a white person, like, yeah, you know what? That's one of the good ones. Ah, shit. Not Hulk Hogan. Like, man, damn.
The 61-year-old apologized for his comments in which he reportedly used the N-word when talking about a man he believed was dating his daughter.
July 2015, in the middle of the Gawker sex tape trial, Hulk Hogan's reputation takes another hit. Yet another recording goes public. This time, it's a conversation, and the backlash is instant and brutal.
As a black person, I don't think you're ever surprised when somebody says the N-word, or you find out that some white person said the N-word. It's disappointing to find out that part of Hulk Hogan.
Hulk is erased from the WWE website. Hulk merchandise is taken off the shelves, and the legendary wrestler goes on an apology tour to rebuild his brand.
It was devastating. It destroyed me.
For brands and any organization affiliated with someone who's a known racist, it means they are taking a stand against a whole group. To be pro Hulk Hogan means you are anti-black, you are anti-minority. There is no brand that can survive that type of scrutiny.
And it cost him dearly. I was very surprised. I really was surprised. I thought he was smarter than that.
I think he realized the magnitude of it, because it wasn't just a quick little locker room slap on the ass, what's up, brother, you know. It was horrible. And he paid for it dearly.
But Hulk tries to minimize the damage with multiple TV appearances.
The people that know me know I'm not a racist. The WWE fans know me. They know I'm not a racist.
As a black person, you're never going to have a true barometer of whether or not there's real contrition and apology.
Ultimately, there's very little possibility of bouncing back from that, and, you know, there shouldn't be. That's bullshit.
A racist outburst can be a death sentence for any celebrity, but Hulk catches a break. In the midst of his spiraling PR nightmare, his lawsuit against Gawker is being secretly financed by a billionaire with a bone to pick. Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal, is out for revenge against the website.
He bankrolled this lawsuit that Hulk Hogan brought against Gawker.
As far as this video being an invasion of privacy, I think this whole trial and the sex tape existing and it getting out in the public, it brings up a question of whether or not a celebrity, their dick and balls, is public domain.
You have a Heather?
No.
You would not?
No. Man law, brother.
What the Gawker legal team was trying to do was to weaponize Hulk Hogan's sexuality against him. It would be perfectly reasonable to see a guy like this in a sex tape.
Made a conscious decision to expose Terry Bollea naked.
I think that was a boomerang strategy that came back to hit the legal team, because in the end, people felt sorry for the guy.
Lawyer for Hulk asked, do you think Mr. Hulk's dick is newsworthy? And the answer was no.
An absolute victory for Hulk Hogan in his invasion of privacy battle against Gawker.
Hulk's win even provides punchlines on Weekend Update.
He deserved compensation, but $140 million? Do you realize that makes Hulk Hogan the world's highest paid porn star? By $139 million?
Hulk Hogan's victory in a landmark lawsuit earns him millions. It also helps resurrect his tarnished image. the WWE quietly uncancels him, reinstating their superstar into their Hall of Fame.
As long as Hulk Hogan decides that he belongs and deserves a second chance, he's gonna find people that'll give him one.
The WWE was faced with a choice. Likely what happened is they sat down and they determined that wrestling fans, particularly Hulk Hogan fans, were more valuable to them than the masses.
I think Hulk Hogan and the WWE, I just think they're soulmates. And regardless of their back and forths and their arguments and their quips over the years, you know, wrestling gave Hulk Hogan purpose. And Hulk Hogan gave wrestling one of its most exciting characters of all time.
Hulk wanted the title of his book to be Resurrection. And it was a little dramatic for the publisher's taste, but I actually think it would have been the perfect story because coming back from the dead has been something he's done again and again in his life.
Hulk Hogan has made so many comebacks, it's unbelievable. He has resurrected himself so many different times.
The finger wave, the point, the head shake. In the ring, you cannot keep the Hulkster down. But it's nothing compared to what he's overcome in real life.
The thing about Hulk Hogan is he's like a real life cartoon character. And when you're able to be that loud, that memorable, you don't even have to try to be resilient. You will forever be remembered and forever be relevant.
I really liked Terry. We had some tremendously good times all over the world together, traveling, meeting people, going places, doing incredible things, making all those movies, doing all this stuff with Terry.
He's literally had 9 lives, and he continues to blow my mind at how he's able to enjoy life and going around and being who he is and letting the people see him as he is, as Hulk Hogan, the Hulkster.
I just don't think that there's ever going to be a world where Hulk Hogan's charisma doesn't eventually win whomever the target is over. You can erase him from the Hall of Fame and you can take down his plaques or whatever, but you're not gonna erase legend.
Nobody can take away his name. Nobody can take away his impact.